Hello YouTube, Burlington Northern HO fan here today, and what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be working on a locomotive of mine. She's coming in the shot right now. Good old Rock Island 6645. It's a steam locomotive, Pacific type. 462. What we're going to be doing today, we're going to try changing this coupler. And we might be taking it apart and giving it some new oil and some fresh maintenancing here. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video. Let's go bring it over to the workbench. Alright guys, so here we are on the workbench. This is going to be somewhat interesting. What we're going to be doing here is these screws here are going to be taking this cover off. The gear should be underneath. I shouldn't have to go any further to put the grease and the oil in here. That should be as far as I go. I don't really want to take the shell off because I know that there is a smoke unit in here, which I don't want to break. There also this coupler back here, we're going to be taking that apart, and we're going to try to put one of our new Walters Proto couplers in here and see if we can get that to work in here. So I'm going to unscrew these two screws, and hopefully I will catch anything that might be behind it. Sometimes there's springs behind these, and I'm going to make sure these drive wheels stay in the position that they are, because if they don't, then this locomotive will have to be recorded, and I don't want to have to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to unscrew these two screws here, and that cover should come off. Alright, so here we are, guys. I had to unscrew the big screw in the back holding the drawbar and the trailing truck. But luckily there are no springs on this locomotive, which usually are a pain in the ass because they will, well, I swore, I don't really care at that point. That's, you know what, we won't talk about it. How about that? And, well, anyway, usually sometimes these steam locomotives will have springs that will spring out and you'll lose them instantly. But this one does not have them. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a cotton swab or a Q-tip, and we're going to get all this old grease out of here, and we're going to just put new stuff in it. So I'll show you what we're going to use. Let's prop this locomotive. Alright, so what I'm going to use today is this Label 102 lubricant, heavy oil, and this Label 106 grease. And what we're going to do, we're just going to put it on that drive gear, that plastic gear in there, and maybe try to shove it down into the worm gear, if you guys can see it in there. It's hidden down in there. But I really shouldn't have to take apart this locomotive any further than this. This locomotive is already clean and it runs, so I'm just going to put new lubricants in this, put some grease in it, and get it back on the rails. And again, we're not letting the drive wheels come out of their position. If they do, then we have to quarter it, and we don't want to do that. So let's just get this clean. We'll put grease in there, and we'll make it nice and new. So you don't need a lot of grease, just a little bit. You're just gonna put the grease on the gear down there, and I'm just gonna put the grease there, and then I'm just gonna let it work into the locomotive. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put a little bit of oil in here and mix it up, and we're gonna put it in and just put the cover back on, and then it should be good to go. Alright, so now I've got some oil in there. I'm gonna shove it down further into that worm gear that's in there, and then we'll be good to put the cover back on. Alright, now that we've got the locomotive back together, we're going to put it on the track and make sure it runs nice. This locomotive, this brand of locomotive, does not pick up power from the tender, so it can run without its tender. So let's go move it over to the track real quick and make sure it runs perfectly fine and works really well. Alright guys, we got her set up on the track. Let's run her around. Oh yeah. Runs like a brand new locomotive. Let's run her backwards. And this is about half power. That's about as much as it needs. think that is a successful maintenance job on this locomotive. Now let's go mess with the tender and see if we can put a bit different coupler on it. Alright, so now that we're going to be on to the tender, we're going to, looks like, let's take the truck off first, and then it'll be easier to access the coupler box. So I'm going to unscrew this screw, and we're going to take it apart, and then we should be able to access the coupler box pretty easily. Okay, so what I've ended up doing is taking the tender shell off with these 4 clips here on the side. And what's our issue here is I couldn't get the truck to come off because this nut is spinning. So we're going to grab a piece of pliers to hold the nut and then unscrew that so we can get to the coupler box. Alright. Alright, so I've been fiddling for this thing for like 20 minutes trying to get that coupler box apart. And it just won't... Why the hell is there paint on here? It just won't come apart. So I think what I'm going to end up doing with this locomotive is I'm going to be eventually cutting this box off and then mounting a coupler box, body-mounted coupler box on the locomotive chassis itself, because I just can't get the damn thing to open. So what we're going to have to do is just leave it the way it is for right now. And I mean, there's no problem with it having a horn hook coupler, but I'd like to have it have a you know, knuckle coupler, but you know, it is what it is. We'll deal with it, and when the time comes when we can upgrade it, we'll upgrade it. So, but let's get this back together and put it on the track with some cars, and I'll have it run around the layout for a bit. All right, we've got her on the track with some cars. About half power. It's running pretty good. It is unfortunate that I couldn't put a Katy coupler in the back or a knuckle coupler in the back, but it is what it is. It still runs perfectly fine. It's a great running steamer. Nice little cheap smoker. I'm not going to run it for too long. It needs smoke oil. I don't want to burn the smokestack and melt it. So I got to buy some smoke oil for it. But it is a good running steamer. Well guys, I believe that's going to be the end of this video. If you guys enjoyed it, leave a like. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.